Howdy, I'm Daniel with Roslyn Rags and welcome to a tie-dye tutorial. In this video I would like to show how to do this rainbow design. So I have a washable marker on a string and I'm just kind of picking an arbitrary kind of middle point of the shirt on the bottom, and I just drew little arcs, and I'm going to fan fold between these arcs, and I'm not really sure. I think I'm going to start about right there, and I'm just trying to make even little pleats. It's okay if the pleats do not end up being super even all the way across the design. You will get the basic concept of it through the colors that I'm going to be putting on. So there is that part. I'm going to turn it around and finish this end, or this side of it, and I'm going to put a rubber band just along this line that I just folded up. And it doesn't have to be super tight, but I don't want to have the rubber band too loose. And it's okay if this kind of gets crumpled up. We're going to work on that later. So now I'm going to finish off the fan folds on the upper line that we drew. And it doesn't matter if they're even or not, just the more even just visually leads to a better design. And here is this line with a rubber band on it. Now I want to put the rainbow colors right here, and then I'm going to use the rest of the shirt as a kind of a sky background. So I'm going to just try and pick the middle point, which is about right here. Then we're going to put 3 colors on each side of it, so I'm going to break that into kind of 3 even points. Now I'm going to do a scrunch or a crinkle fold up here. And what I'm doing is I'm just trying to randomly fold the shirt, not into little accordion folds, but just not getting the shirt to lay over itself. Trying to expose as much of the fabric to the outside as I can. And I'm just going to put a few rubber bands to try and shore up any loose fabric that I have. I put one more rubber band on like this. Alright, now I'm going to do the same thing to this side. And once again, I'm just going to be crinkle folding or scrunch folding the fabric. And I could have left it just fan folded, kind of like these are, but I think that this will give it a nicer effect. It'll give it a different effect on the shirt. And the more styles of folding that you can put on any one shirt, I think it looks a little bit better. You can go kind of with too much stuff on, I don't think you can go with too much stuff on the shirt. If you could separate each part of the shirt and dye every single part of the shirt separately, I think you would have a very fun looking shirt. But we don't always have time to do that. Alright, so this part is rubber banded. Now I'm going to focus on the rainbow area of this shirt. Now I'm just going to start with the center one. And the fan folds aren't really going to lose their memory. They're kind of set in the fabric right now, so it doesn't take too much to kind of get them to lay flat again. And now I'm just going to put rubber bands along all the different lines. It'll just kind of allow me to place down the dye a little bit easier when it's just kind of marked out like this. So I'll grab another rubber band. I get fairly tight with the rubber band. I'm probably going to put another rubber band up here right now. Alright, now to do these two rubber bands, or to rubber band these two segments. Oops. And sometimes rubber bands will break on you, and normally they shouldn't really mess up the design. You should kind of, oh, that one broke again. You should kind of be able to hold your design in place as you're putting down the rubber band. Some designs you want to be a little more delicate with, and hopefully this rubber band doesn't break. Alright, so now one more rubber band. Alright, so here is our rainbow, and I don't think that I can really tell the top of it, so I'm going to mark this as kind of the top area, so then we can make sure that we put our colors of the rainbow down correctly. But let's go dye it. We are in front of my dyeing tray, and I have the rainbow in front of me: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple, and black. And I'm actually going to turn it over. This is the top, so I'm going to start off with red on this side. I'm putting down quite a bit of dye. That looks good to me. Now I'm going to put down some orange. And sometimes when the dye, sometimes when the fabric is thicker or it's tighter, you need to put down a little more dye. Otherwise the dye won't really want to go all the way through. I'm going to skip the yellow for right now, and I'm going to put green down. And sometimes green travels quite a bit, so I'm going to put green down on this far side from the yellow, the side that the turquoise will be going down. That looks good. Now I'm going to put down some blue right here next to the green. trying to evenly put down the same amount of dye across this whole area that I sectioned off for the blue. And now I'm putting down some raspberry. And one way to make sure that the dye goes into the fabric, you'll want to make sure that your hands are clean, but is to just kind of squeeze the fabric and see, and that will help get it through the material. Now I'm going to turn it over and see how everything looks, and that looks good to me, so I'm going to put down some red right here. I'm not going to go all the way over with the red. I may even do a half step or so. I'm going to put orange down here, and that will make a nice effect when I open up the shirt. So that looks good on the orange, and with the green, once again, I'm just going on this side right here, away from where the yellow is going to be, and that'll make the yellow a little bit wider, but that's okay. Now I'm doing some blue. That looks pretty good on the blue, and now some raspberry. Now I'll give these a quick squeeze again, and then if there's any excess dye, it will just kind of go all the way through the material. So now I'm going to put down black, and I'm going to start on this side first, and I'm going to be putting down a lot of black here. So sometimes you just kind of gotta let it just wait while the fabric absorbs the dye. The dye doesn't always want to go into the fabric quickly. Sometimes if you put too much dye on the fabric just can't take that much dye and it will run off. And if that happens, just kind of back off on the amount of dye that you're placing down and wait a little bit for it to absorb. And I'm trying not to put down as much dye near the red. I don't want the black to creep into the red while the design batches. And one way that I can kind of get the dye into the fabric more is by squeezing it or just pressing down on it. So I will do that, and I'm trying to go for a fairly solid black here. I don't want a whole bunch of white in it. I could, if I wanted to have a little bit of white in this, I would just not put down as much black, but I'm just kind of squeezing it. Now I'm going to turn it over, and that looks good enough for me, so I'm going to put black on this side. I'm just going to start off with a little bit, then I'll go to this side of the shirt, and I'll put a little bit of black. Let it soak in a little bit. Now that this side has had a chance to soak in, I'll put in on just a little bit more black, and I'll do the same to this side. I'll go ahead and squeeze them when I'm done with that. And there should be enough dye here to go all the way through the material. I'm going to finish off those the edges by putting down red and purple. So I'll put down just a little bit of red right here. And red is always on the top of the rainbow. So there's some purple. Now I will place down yellow where I left a little space for it. I'll turn it over. I'll give it a quick squeeze and then I'll turn it over. Sometimes it's easier to do it with both hands. So that looks good to me. I will put this in a plastic bag and let it sit for 24 hours. Thanks for watching. Have fun dyeing. So I have this midnight rainbow in front of me. It's been washed out once, and I kind of find that if I wash it out, if it goes through the wash cycle one time, it's a little bit easier to deal with the fabric. There's not as much dye that I'll get on my hands. In fact, I won't really get any dye on my hands from doing this, where before, when I put it in the washing machine, there's a lot of dye that would transfer over onto my hands. And I will reuse the rubber bands as long as they don't break on me. Sometimes it takes a little while to get the rubber bands off, and you can do this with artificial sinew as well, where the rubber bands are, and that makes it a little bit easier to open up, just because you don't have to go around the entire shirt. And if I wanted to save some time, I guess I could cut the rubber bands, but I don't like to put anything sharp near my pieces. I don't like to get holes in my shirts or bandanas or whatever I'm dyeing. There's that one. So here is the shirt. Looks pretty awesome. Thanks for watching. Have fun dyeing.